This is AM Agenda. Thanks for your company this morning. With me now, Liberal MP Paul Fletcher and Labor frontbencher Senator Matt Thistlethwaite. Senator, I want to go to you first of all. This report in the Daily Telegraph, which says that the headline says, "Dirty Deal Damages Rudd's Clean-Up Campaign." The report suggests that in your local branch of Malabar, there were 58 people, more than half the entire branch membership, that paid their membership fees on the same day, coincidentally on the the cut-off date to become eligible to vote in this week's ballot, March 31. What do you say to that report this morning?
Well, look, Kieran, I've been a member of the Malabar branch for about 15 years. It's where I live. I go along to the branch meeting regularly when I'm not in Canberra. And there's a good core of about 30 or 40 branch members that I see regularly at those branch meetings. They're the core of the Labor Party in our area. They're the people that I've been talking to about the pre-selection that'll be determined on the weekend, seeking their support. And they're the ones that'll get a vote. They're the people that will determine who the representative for the Labor Party to stand for the seat of Kingsford Smith will be on the weekend. And that's the approach that the party should take. I welcome a rank and file pre-selection on this issue. I think it's the right approach. It certainly fits with the reform agenda that we've had recently, that the Prime Minister's been promoting about democratising the party, ensuring that branch members get a say.
Did 58 people join on the same day, on the 31st of March?
I'm not aware. I'm not involved in the administration of the branch. I don't hold a position. I don't have access to any of those records. I'm a normal branch member. I don't hold office in the branch. I go along on a regular basis when I'm not in Canberra or I'm not travelling, and I give a report to the branch about my work as a senator. I was at the branch meeting last night, and I got there a bit late because there were other things on, and I had a beer with some of the branch members after it. It's at the Malabar RSL Club. That's where they regularly meet. They're excited about the prospect of getting a vote on the weekend in the pre-selection. I think that's the right approach for the party to take.
But
there's a core
state secretary. He's a former state secretary of the Labor Party, and he says, "Oh look, I'm not involved and I don't know." Look, Kevin Rudd is supposed to be cleaning up the Labor Party. He's told us that. We've got a former state secretary here, a former AWU official, and there's a report in the Daily Telegraph today of a major branch stacking episode going on in one of the branches. So this is same old Labor. Kevin Rudd has apparently cleaned up Labor. But
I've got to interrupt because I do want to get to the man concerned, because these allegations have been made against Matt Thistlethwaite, and they're basically saying that you're branch stacking in that seat. What do you say to that suggestion then, that you have branch stacked in the seat of Kingsford Smith and in your branch of Malabar?
Well, that's completely untrue. And I've been a member of that branch for 15 years. I've been a member of the Labor Party for close to 20 years in the area. I've worked in the community. I've been involved in surf life saving for 28 years. I've been the president of Maroubra PCYC. That's the reason why I've put my hand up to seek pre-selection, to represent the Labor Party. To represent the Labor Party, and I'm looking forward to the branch members, the dedicated members of the branches.
But do you have any explanation as to why 60 people, 58 people would have joined on the same day? That's the crux of this story, and the basis of this suggestion that there's been some branch stacking here. Do you have any background information, any idea? Did you recruit people? Have they all joined on the same day? What's gone on?
No, I didn't recruit people to join on the same day. What I think that refers to is the renewal date, which is the deadline date. And a lot of people in the Labor Party renew on the deadline date. It's like someone that renews their licence on the day before the deadline. It's probably the most popular day for renewal of party membership because it's the deadline day.
Well, you must be angry at this story then in the Daily Telegraph. It's front page.
Well, look, Kieran, I'm working in the community. I'm just getting on with talking to branch members. I was at a forum last night that was put on by the Randwick branch, where there were about 40 to 50 local branch members, and it was the Labor Party at its best. It was a contest of ideas. It was a discussion about policy and who's going to be the best representative for the area, and I welcome that.
Paul Fletcher, what do you say to that suggestion? Senator Thistlethwaite said it had nothing to do with recruiting anyone, that it's the renewal date. Is that a fair defence? What's your response?
Well, Kevin Rudd is supposed to be cleaning up the Labor Party. We've got a plum seat, Kingsford Smith, where Peter Garrett has retired, said he's retiring from the Parliament because he can't stand Kevin Rudd and he's not prepared to work in the Cabinet or in the Parliament with Kevin Rudd. And now we have Matt Thistlethwaite, who's presently a senator, wanting to transfer to the lower house. He's a former State Secretary of the Labor Party in New South Wales. He's a former AWU official, and it raises questions about whether there has really been any change to Labor at all. The Daily Telegraph this morning reports that the reason that Matt Thistlethwaite is shifting to the lower house is so that his spot in the Senate can be cleared away for another ALP official, Sam Dastyari, the present Labor Party State Secretary in New South Wales. So it seems like, despite Mr Rudd's claims of a new, clean Labor Party, we've got all the same old games being played.
Okay,
and let's remember, this is the national parliament. This is the national parliament.
Let's put that to Senator Thistlethwaite, that accusation that you repeated there of Sam Dastyari, making space for him. Is that true?
That's complete rubbish. Look, anyone that knows me, Kieran, knows that I've worked in that community my entire life. For the last 28 years, I've been involved in surf life saving. I've been involved in the Maroubra PCYC. The reason why I got involved in politics was to hopefully one day have the opportunity and the great honour of representing the community that I grew up in. I went to school at Morris Brothers Pagewood. I went to university at the University of New South Wales. I was president of Maroubra Surf Club. I was president of Maroubra PCYC. I worked at South Juniors. I'm deeply involved in the community. That's the reason why I got involved in politics, and the opportunities come up. People have encouraged me to put my hand forward to run for the seat, and that's why I'm doing it. It's got nothing to do with any of these rubbish suggestions in the newspaper.
Let's move on to the carbon price. Paul Fletcher, Tony Abbott has received some criticism for suggesting that it's a so-called market, the ETS, in the delivery of an invisible substance to no one. What did you make of those comments? Certainly some criticism that he could have used a better form of words. Others suggesting if it's non-delivery of an invisible substance, isn't the direct action plan paying billions of dollars to business to do the same thing?
Kieran, the issue here is whether there is going to continue to be a carbon tax. The Labor Party has a carbon tax. Mr Rudd's apparently making an announcement this morning. It might vary the price might become variable, but it's still going to be a carbon tax. The Coalition has a consistent policy, a direct action plan, which will achieve the same. But
isn't it? It's also a question as to whether or not Tony Abbott believes the science. There's an underlying question there, isn't it?
Kieran, if Tony Abbott didn't believe the science, if the Coalition didn't believe the science, we wouldn't have the policy that we've had for over 3 years, which is directed towards achieving a 5% reduction in Australia's emissions from the 2000 level by 2020. The two major parties have the same target here in terms of reduction in carbon emissions. The difference is the policy instruments. Our policy instrument is the direct action plan, and we are the party that will introduce the direct action plan and will get rid of the carbon tax. And you can't believe Kevin Rudd when he says he's going to get rid of the carbon tax, because he's had more positions on this issue over the years, as on other issues, than just about anybody else. It's purely driven by politics,
Senator
not policy.
your response to this, given that is the bottom line, isn't it? The Coalition maintains it would get rid of it. Lock, stock and barrel.
Well, Paul's right. The parties do have the same emissions reduction target, 5% by 2020. And the question then becomes, how do you do that? There's been 37 parliamentary inquiries into this issue, and every single one of them has suggested a market-based mechanism similar to the ETS that Labor is implementing. Not one of them have suggested direct action. Direct action is, as Tony Abbott says, invisible. It won't produce results. You're going to subsidise polluters in the hope that they will reduce carbon emissions. It's complete rubbish. It won't work. There's no economic basis for it. There's no scientific basis for it. And they're running a mile from it now because they know it's a policy that the population doesn't support.
Gentlemen, we're out of time. I'm sorry to interrupt. Paul Fletcher, Senator Matt Thistlethwaite, thanks for your time this morning, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Pleasure.